Cranium, Mysterious Remain Death, Part 8. You're listening to Girls Love World, wishing you a wonderful listening experience. Chapter 36. It's truly amazing. Finya commented, looking around the expansive area on the fourth floor of a building not too far from the city center, surrounded by towering skyscrapers. The building looked ordinary from the outside, but inside it was filled with ancient artifacts from all over the place. Some were probably legitimately acquired, others not so much. Is there anything that catches your attention? Fanyawat asked. Dr. Finya hesitated, looking at Songwat, who wore a curious expression. He was standing not far from her, examining an oil painting that Finya didn't recognize. Let me take a look around for a moment. Go ahead. He replied before joining Songwat. Finya wandered around quietly, unsure of what she might gain from this visit. It seemed Fanyawat intended to entice her with these artifacts. In addition to the sarcophagus she was interested in, she heard Songwat hint that Fanyawat might want her as a broker or contact for international transactions and hoped Finya could help verify the items. One shot, many birds caught. Fanyawat had taken him to see many of these items to persuade her, showing her the potential profits she could make from these transactions. But in reality, Finya is not rigid, instead, she often adapts to the situation. Although she is sometimes fusel, she has compromised with Bua to some extent. Finya picked up her phone to immediately text Bua about her location. At least that way, Bua wouldn't complain about not being allowed to come along. The relationship between her and Bua was almost like a couple, even though Bua was too stubborn to admit it. But since Finya had said she would wait, she had to keep her promise. She continued wandering, alternating between texting Bua and exploring, until she reached the farthest corner of the building. There, she looked up and saw something she didn't expect. Finya was stunned by the sight before her. A mummified human body, displayed in a clear glass case, lies horizontally on a table like a sarcophagus. Its skin, now brownish-black and dry, clings to its bones. There is no wrapping, leaving every part of the body visible. Finya stood there, examining the mummified body with a strange feeling similar to when she found the mysterious skull at the plane crash site. Her heart was pounding with a certain anxiety. The longer she looked, the more her worry grew. The mummified body on display had dry skin similar to what Finya had seen at the crash site, though darker and more intact. If her suspicions were correct, then there was more in the mummified body than just the mysterious skull. She examined the intact dark brown skull, noting that it had not undergone significant aging, as there were no cracks or damage. She scanned the pelvis to estimate gender, and it was clear from the skull features such as the prominent forehead, brow ridges, depth of the eye sockets, shape of the nasal cavity, and jawline that this person was male. Furthermore, the general shape of the skull and bone structure suggest this person was most likely of Southeast Asian or Mongoloid descent. One of the striking features is the healed fracture of the left tibia. Interested in this? Fanyawat asked, stopping beside her. Finya, trying to control her nervousness, put away her phone and hid her shaking hands in her black pants. Where did you get this? She asked, her voice shaking slightly. It was given to me. He replied casually, they said it was a replica. Replica? The word made Finya turn to look at him. Yes. Fanyawat confirmed. It's a model made to resemble the real thing, meant to be displayed in a museum. The person who brought it to me said it was thrown away, so he brought it here to see if anyone was interested. It's basically just a replica for display purposes. I don't know if it's a good replica because I've never seen the real thing. Finya looked at the body again. And I'm not going to sell it, I'm just keeping it because it was a gift from a client. Who owns it? Finya asked excitedly. He's the one who bought from me a few times and then left it here. I kept it because it was in good condition and I wanted to maintain a good relationship with my clients. Fanyawat explained in a soft tone, causing Finya to observe his indifferent expression. Mr. Fanyawat, may I make a suggestion with good intentions? Please. He replied. Finya did not answer immediately, but turned to the young man standing not far away and called out. Professor Songwhat, can you come here for a moment? Not long after, the person she called joined them. What's wrong? Songwhat asked, following Finya's movements. This mummified body. Finya said. Can you tell if it's a replica, Professor? Finya asked, watching Songwhat frown and shake his head. I don't know, I've never seen the original or any replica, he replied. Okay. She said, turning to Fanyawat. I think you should call the police. Police? Fanyawat repeated, looking at Songwhat, who was now examining the mummified body more closely. Dr. Finya, don't tell me. Songwhat began to understand Finya's nod. Oh no, he cried. Mr. Fanyawat, call the police immediately. He turned to Fanyawat, who still looked confused. I don't think this is a replica. The police are currently questioning Mr. Fanyawat. Finya told the person sitting across from her. The police moved the body from the warehouse to the research institute, and they have asked the institute to take over the case. I have promised to handle it personally. This is a disaster, our worst fears have come true. It seemed like Mr. Fanyawat was completely unaware of what was going on. If he did, he wouldn't have shown it to me. The British researcher said. I asked him repeatedly, and he insisted that he thought it was a replica. Why does everyone seem to be clueless? The physical anthropology researcher said. Professor Songwhat seems clueless too, and now we have found more bodies. Exactly, Finya agreed. We are getting more information, but it is getting more and more unclear. Now we are not sure what's looking for. The police have not found anything either. Even though I gave them Wizarat's name, they could not find his relatives. What happened? But I'm sure the person who left the body with Mr. Fanyawat knows something. The assistant director commented. The problem is we don't know who that person is. Mr. Fanyawat said he tried to contact him but couldn't reach him. When will the body arrive? Bua asked. Maybe within the week. Answered another woman in the room. We need to wait for officers to collect initial evidence first. Okay, I need to get ready. I haven't had any time off from work lately, she said, her voice trailing off. I really want a real hologram. I will get Monsi to buy it. Really? Her eyes lit up for a moment. Dr. Finya is really kind. Don't expect too much. I just want a new toy that keeps going up in price. Finya said, noticing the comment. She then adjusted her tone to be more formal. Based on my initial assessment, this person is likely a mongoloid male. The structure of the skull and pelvic bones suggests so. There is also evidence of a healed fracture on the left tibia, indicating the injury occurred before death due to the healing process. There are no obvious signs of cause of death, right? Bua asked. I didn't see it, she replied. Did you take the initial photo? Bua asked. Just in case there are any broken bones or damage during the transfer. Yes, okay. I'll print them. Finya then focused on the computer to print the photos. Soon, more than 30 color photos from the initial shots were stacked on the table. Bua took the photos and examined them. The dried, discolored skin of the body did resemble a skull from a plane crash, though it was darker in color. As Finya had mentioned, there were visible signs of injury that would indicate the cause of death. Other than a healed fracture of the left tibia, there was no decay or other damage. I really hope we don't find a third body, Bua said with a heavy sigh. Don't think about it, ma'am, the assistant director immediately replied. Maybe the curse is too strong, Bua replied. The ancients used to say not to tempt fate. Stop, or that fate will come back to you, Finya said. I know. The lab chief replied quickly. I'm putting together a report on the plane crash 10 case for the police. I'll send it over for review if you have any additional input. So, what's the latest on the accident? Finya asked. Just read it yourself, replied the lab head. Bua, if one day you can't bother me, will you lose your appetite? Finya teased. No, Bua argued. But I'll get sleepy because my adrenaline won't be pumping if I don't bother you. I like seeing you get emotional. Lately, you've been too nice, not as fierce as before. And what if I'm not here one day? Finya asked. Then I'll go to sleep. Bua said, making Finya fake a sigh. How can you find an excuse to sleep all day? I'm just sleepy. If you didn't feel it, then you wouldn't understand, Bua replied before grabbing the skeleton photos and standing up. I borrowed these to look for something useful. What would you do? I tried using a 6-figure software program to create a 2D facial image from the photos, but it didn't seem to work. The physical anthropology researcher told Finya, who was standing next to her. The two of them stared at a television mounted on the lab wall, which was displaying images from Bua's tablet. It didn't work well because there were too few variables. There was no depth or muscle definition, so the face looked too smooth, like it had been Botoxed. Have you ever had Botox? I look naturally youthful, so I don't need it, Bua said, taining pride. If you want to do it, you might start with your lips, just so you don't talk too much. Finya teased. You yourself rarely talk? Bua replied before turning back to the television. A man's face was clearly visible on the screen, though his eyes, nose, and jawline were distorted by the lack of clear points. Using a 3D image of an actual skull would allow for more accurate depth and muscle definition. I will try to determine the points manually, but it will probably take more than a week because I need to enter the values myself. It's better than doing nothing. I'm really worried we might find more victims if we delay. Finya said. Facial muscles always give me a headache. Bua complained. I almost failed this section during the exam. I still don't understand why I chose physical anthropology when I'm not good with muscles or bones. That's what happens when you don't like something. You end up getting it. Finya said, teasing Bua. Seriously, it's true. You get what you don't like, Bua replied, pushing her glasses up and emphasizing her point. Okay, ma'am, that's enough. If making a picture from a photo doesn't work out. Bua said, more serious now, pointing to the large television screen. It feels good to know that the picture is not accurate. The conversation then fell silent as they focused on their own thoughts. Finya continued to stare at the photo of the skeleton she had taken from the Warchouse, which was actually Mr. Fanyawat's building. Finya's phone rang, breaking the silence. She glanced at the caller ID before answering, while Bua remained focused on the tablet screen. Yes. Finya's voice was calm, then she listened. Really? Okay, see you tomorrow, she said before ending the call. The police have found Mr. Wizrit's address. They said someone recognized him from the announcement on social media. They want us to help investigate tomorrow. Finally. Bua said, glancing at the fake skull that now had about 60% of its face showing. Hopefully we can find something that will help us find out who did it. Chapter 37. Finya found herself standing in a room inside a condominium not far from the city's economic district, on the 17th floor of a nearly 30-story building. The young doctor surveyed her surroundings while Bua stood outside, talking to two forensic officers. They were providing information about the case, having been asked by the police to help as experts, as well as being the ones who discovered the mysterious skull at the crime scene. Luckily they found more clues about Mr. Wizrit. Although a second mummy was found in Mr. Fanyawat's warehouse, no one knew any further details, making this strange case even more suspicious. Mr. Fanyawat claimed that someone had left the body with him, saying it was a replica. This clearly indicated a deliberate lie, with Finya concluding that it was likely an attempt to hide the body. What once seemed like a plane crash tragedy has now turned into a murder case. The area where they were standing was in front of the bedroom of the owner of the unidentified skull found at the crash site. Police had tracked down clues that led them here. Furthermore, the police revealed that the young man whose body was eventually mummified had no family or close friends, as they were believed to have all died. It was heartbreaking to hear this, which explains why no missing person report was filed after he disappeared, and was found only as a skeleton at the crash site. Bua joins Finya. "Did you find anything?" Bua asked, to which Finya shook her head. The two looked around the room, which was tidy enough but covered in dust and cobwebs, indicating that the owner had not been back for a long time. The building management said the maintenance fee had been overdue for more than 2 years, almost 3. They had not been able to contact the owner of the Zoom or anyone else involved. Before, Wizard had not been very sociable, but there had been no conflicts that could have led to a tragic end. Finya stood in front of a desk with only a stack of documents on it. Wearing blue gloves, she carefully picked up the papers and began to read them. Meanwhile, Bua looked for a writing that might help the officers or provide further evidence. "Bua," Finya called while holding a document in her right hand that had just been opened from the white envelope that she had just finished reading. That made the person who was called come closer while frowning in question. Mr. Wizard applied for an internship in South Africa 2 years ago. Finya said as she handed over the internship acceptance letter to South Africa. Everyone probably thought he was in Africa, so no one knew he never got there. He even got sponsorship from the internship place there. "Right." Bua nodded in agreement. "I get the police to help contact his internship location to see if we can find anything," she said, pulling a Ziploc evidence bag out of a box and tucking the documents into it before walking away. Meanwhile, Finya walked past the small kitchen to the back of the room, where there was a small balcony. She saw a large black plastic bag containing dozens of empty plastic water bottles, which the owner of the room had never had time to throw away. Next to the black plastic bag were 7 or 8 empty beer bottles, covered in a layer of dust. Nearby was a small yellow jar with a lid, about the size of a palm. She glanced at Bua, who had already passed, before deciding to follow her. However, something made Finya stop in her tracks. She turned and moved toward a yellow jar with a screw-top lid that caught her eye. She picked it up and tried to read the handwriting written in black marker on the label, but it was too faint to make out. Finya examined it closely, frowning. She saw that there was still some clear liquid left in the jar, although some of it had dried along the sides. "Did you find anything, Fin?" "A jar with some kind of substance in it," Finya replied. "Why don't you send it to the authorities to get tested? We might find something," Bua suggested. Then, Finya lowered her voice to a whisper. She asked, "Can we test it ourselves? I want to know if the substance is the same as I think it is." "Of course. Fong just got a new chemical analyzer," Bua replied quickly. "What do you think?" "Tell me," she asked eagerly. "I won't tell you," Finya teased. "You'll have to find out for yourself until the results come out. If you guess right, I'll give you a reward." "No, thank you. Your gift might be terrible," Bua replied, narrowing her eyes playfully. However, she quickly pulled out a small yellow jar to take a sample from her tool. "Hey, come on, let's get some so Fong can check it in the machine." Finya obediently poured some of the liquid into a jar, and Bua took it to the forensics officer working nearby. 3 days later, Fong walked into the staff coffee room, where his 2 friends were chatting. He held a document in her hand. "Hey, you two!" Fong called out to her classmates, who immediately stopped arguing. "Stop it," Fong said, waving the results in the air. "The results are in. You guys owe me dinner. I had to stay up all night for this. Finya will pay," Bua immediately quipped. "Hey, why me?" Finya replied. "Because it was your idea, and you wouldn't even tell me what you were thinking. I've given up asking," Bua replied, turning to Fong. "So, what was the result, my friend?" Fong handed over the test results. It's pine resin. Pine sap? Bua asked, sounding surprised. Yes. Fong confirmed. Usually, pine resin is solid, but this sample is liquid. It probably contains turpentine, which is used to dissolve the resin. What you brought is very pure, it has no other solvents used to keep it liquid. No wonder. At first, I didn't smell any thinner or solvent that was supposed to be used, so wasn't sure if it was pine resin or not. Finya said thoughtfully. So what did he use instead? Fong's close friend asked. He probably used high heat, Fong replied. And he kept it in an amber jar to protect it from the sun. If the turpentine didn't evaporate, the resin would return to its solid state more slowly. The sample you gave me is already starting to dry out because it's been so long. But I don't know what kind of pine it is, the machine can't be that specific. She said with a playful glance, which Bua didn't seem to notice. Thank you very much, Fong. Finya said, taking the document to review, even though she didn't quite understand the chemical details. What were you two gossiping about? Fong asked curiously. Who wants to gossip with Finya? Bua immediately replied, moving away and glancing at Fin. Shut up, Bua. Finya ordered, making Busaya purse her lips. Finya then turned to her classmate, who was watching the two of them with amusement in her eyes. I assure you, nothing bad will happen, she said firmly. I know, Fong replied. Just curious. But if you don't want to tell me, that's okay, I don't really want to know. We're investigating a murder case, Bua said suddenly. I mean, it's classified. You've got me so confused, Bua, that I can't tell what's real and what's not. Her friend teased. See? You didn't believe me even when I told you, Bua pouted. Seriously? Fong asked, wide-eyed, staring at her friend in disbelief. When she saw Bua's serious expression, she turned to Finya, who nodded but said nothing. Murder investigation? Something like that, Bua admitted quietly. I thought you were at the scene for a plane crash. Well. Bua hesitated, lifting her nerdy full paper cup of hot latte to take a sip. A plane crash case that seems to have turned into a murder case. And that's what you two were whispering about? We weren't whispering. Bua interrupted. We were just talking normally. Tell me the secret, girls. Fong said, pulling out a chair and sitting down. Bua glanced at Finya, who nodded for her to continue and explain. Finya then began to tell her story. It's not completely secret. Bua added after her explanation was over. There are parts the police know about and parts they don't. So you guys didn't tell the whole story? Fong commented knowingly. Does the professor know about this? She know. Finya replied this time. But not completely, I mean, I haven't reported it yet. Do the officers know that the evidence has been divided for examination? Fong asked knowingly. You two are really good for each other. There's no stopping anyone. A friend of Finya and Bua said, watching the two look at each other without saying anything. She guessed the police didn't know about this. What do you think? Help me think, the female assistant director asked. I don't know. Fong replied shortly. I don't know much about mummies or ancient civilizations or murder cases. But if you want me to help you check this or that, I can do that, she said. But what do you think you can find out from the resin? Resin is an ancient embalming substance. As you said, when turpentine evaporates, it will freeze again and can be used to coat and protect against insects and bacteria that will rot the body. Explained the female doctor from England. In ancient Egypt, resin was smeared as a liquid on the body before being wrapped in cloth and placed in a coffin. So, this is a traditional method, Fong commented. Fin. Bua exclaimed as if she had just realized something. Do you think, is the resin on Wizard's skull the same? It's possible, the other replied. We should collect them and examine them. Can you do it, Fong? Why not? If we don't try, how will we know? Take a sample and take it to the lab. The test results arrived on Finya's desk 2 days later. So, you mean the resin found in Wizerit's room is the same as the resin found in his skull? Bua, who was standing confused in the lab, repeated what she had just heard. Fang said they were similar. The molecular size was about the same, and it was pure resin, not dissolved. It probably came from the same source or at least the same type of pine. Finya added. So, this was done by himself? How can a dead person stand up and apply embalming fluid to himself? Can you, ma'am? Finya snapped back, glaring at the others. We're going around in circles, but we're not making any progress. There must be a curse. I don't think so. The assistant director frowned, thinking hard before continuing. The person who did this must have known Wizerit. Resin is an ancient embalming technique that requires lime as a key factor. So, I think whoever used pure resin must have known a lot about mummification and did it intentionally. Someone who works in the field. They both nodded in agreement before Bua absent-mindedly stared at the model skull with the reconstructed face. Have you called Fanyuwat about who put the mummy up for sale? Busaya asked, as she remembered. Yes. He said he would check the records on the buyer-seller list first. I'm still waiting. The female lab director said with a sigh. It's like trying to cut with a knife from all 8 sides. Every time we get close, we stumble. What's going on? Then we'll find the 9th side, Finya suggested. Fanyuwat was very cooperative, so he probably didn't know much. He was probably just a middleman receiving and selling without checking anything. He might have to be investigated or even face legal action. In your opinion, were the bodies found in the Fanyuwat warehouse and the Wizerit skull handled by the same person and method? It's very possible, given the circumstances, Finya replied. No one would do something like this all at once, especially with such a shortage. Plus, we already know the people involved must be working in the field, given their efforts to follow traditional methods. If that's the case, we need to check the body quickly, Finn. That corpse might be the 9th side we've been looking for. Chapter 38. The letter C marked with a white marker is placed at the junction between the forehead and the top of the nasal bone. The mummies from the Fanyuwat warehouse had been moved here the previous morning. Now, Bua began her work. Her job was to place identification markers on the skull, photograph it, and create a 2-dimensional reconstruction of the face. All he could do was pray that the police would be able to identify this unknown man. With each white marker placed, one by one, all she could do was sigh and hope there wouldn't be any more bodies. Finya stood with her back to Bua, examining the bones that had just been taken from the warehouse for any abnormalities. Bua knew that her friend was also abundant and would probably not sleep well until the person responsible for this was brought to justice. Meanwhile, investigators are interrogating Fanyuwat to see if there were any other accomplices, but it seems as Finya suspected he probably doesn't know anything. If he did, he wouldn't have shown her the body in the first place. However, what surprised her was that when Fanyuwat searched for information about the person who left the body, the name that came up was Wizerit, the man whose skull was found in the mysterious plane crash. The only hope now is that they can identify the second victim whose face Bua reconstructed. Maybe that will lead them to the perpetrator. This is the most confusing case Finya has ever faced. She saw Bua move towards the camera, adjusting her glasses before bending down to look through the viewfinder on the tripod. She began taking photos, the two of them working tirelessly without rest to track down whoever was responsible for this. I contacted the university in South Africa, based on the letter we found in Wizerit's room, Bua said calmly. They said he never came, and they weren't informed of any changes. Well, that's something. The other replied, turning to look at her. And the university where he works as a researcher? I called them too. They said they thought he went to the location for field work, stayed long because they lost contact. People tried to contact him, but no one could. It was a mess. The assistant director muttered. Nobody reported anything because both sides thought he just left. So, he disappeared around the time he was supposed to go abroad, almost 3 years ago. His workplace thought he was abroad, and the people abroad thought he never came. That might have been when he died, Bua speculated. But someone must have taken his body and done something to it, and it's surfaced now. And the person who did it is the person we are alter. The woman behind the camera said, nodding before returning to her work. Do you remember what Fong said about someone in the inner circle? The person responsible is probably an insider, as Fong mentioned, another person said. I don't think ordinary people would bother doing something like this unless there was some benefit or purpose. By the way, my friend just sent me a translation of the papyrus scroll we found. Finya continued. So, it's genuine, replied the assistant director. How did the original scroll end up with a nearly authentic mummy? I don't know. Finya mused, her tone half-jokingly at odds with her serious expression. At first, we thought it was for sale or auction. Bua nodded in agreement. I just hope the police can identify this unknown man. Otherwise, I can't think of anything else. It all keeps coming back to Wizard. He's the key, but he's not here for us to find out who sent him to Pachai, and now Pachai died in a plane crash. When the police questioned Peepat, he didn't know anything either, because he had just taken over his brother's business. At least, I believe we did our best. The assistant director said, looking the other in the eye with an encouraging gesture. By the way, could you schedule a meeting with Professor Ramesh? I want to show him the message from the papyrus scroll. Maybe he can help narrow down the context, or maybe he knows something. We have to work with whatever information we have. Sure, boss. The others replied with a nod before returning to their tasks. Meanwhile, Finya turned her attention back in the skeleton they had taken from the Fanuel storage facility. The skull was placed on a stand while Bua continued to take photos. There is a fracture to the left tibia, most likely occurring long before death, since the bone has healed. The assistant director noted as she measured the bone and prepared to photograph it for evidence. Other than that, there are no abnormalities or injuries to the other bones. From the skeletal remains, it is impossible to determine the cause of death. The X-ray machine will be available this afternoon, Bua chimed in. We need to calculate the age at death, and I'll use that once variable for the facial reconstruction. I'd rather do it all. Sounds good. Finya agreed, heeding the rapid click of the camera shutter from behind her. I have class in 10 minutes. Can you take the skin sample to Fong for chemical analysis? I'm sure it's the same resin. Finya glanced at Dr. Bua, who was preparing another marker to be attached to the skull. How long do you think this will take? It won't take as long as the last one, because we know the ethnicity. Bua reasoned. The part that will take time is reconstructing the muscles. If it weren't for you, I would have been lost, Bua. Finya said, making Bua look up in surprise. Don't start, Bua replied. I'm serious, Finya insisted. Dr. Bua is great at other things besides working non-stop. Finya saw the twinkle in Bua's eyes as she turned to look at her. Without saying anything, Bua turned away but quickly walked over to stand beside her, causing Finya to glance at her curiously. That's why I trust you more than anyone. The assistant director said, looking her in the eye before leaning in to whisper. I'm proud of you, ma'am. I'm glad I got to know you. Finya. Bua's voice trembled, reflecting her heart. I have to go now. I have class. Finya said, pulling away and smiling before walking out of the lab, leaving Bua standing there, touched by those words. The two arrive at the building where they made their appointment with Ramesh. They head to the reception desk to exchange their IDs and ask to meet him. Professor Ramesh might be in the lab this afternoon, said the receptionist. If he is not in his office, you can check on the 3rd floor where the lab is. Thank you. Finya said, heading up the stairs. I'll check the office, the assistant director said. you go to the lab. If I don't find him, I'll come looking for you." Bua nodded briefly and left. Bua arrives at the lab, stopping in front of a glass door covered with curtains. He knocked several times and, getting no response, decided to enter. Inside, the lab was brightly lit by ceiling lights. This was Bua's first time in this lab, and it was very similar to her own lab. Equipment and tools are arranged on the floor, in cupboards, and on shelves. The white walls are soothing to the eyes. She saw Ramesh wearing a long white lab coat, busy preparing equipment. He must not have heard the knock on the door. "Professor Ramesh, hello. Am I disturbing you?" Bua greeted him, raising her hand in a familiar gesture, which made the man turn and smile. "Hello, ma'am," he replied politely, apparently tidying up. "Please give me a moment to finish this." He turned to put away some chemicals before saying, "Please feel free to look around. Where is Dr. Finya, who wanted to show me something?" "Finya will join us soon," Bua replied calmly, her curiosity piqued. Visiting new places always excited her, especially the laboratories of various institutions with interesting and unfamiliar samples or equipment. Her attention was drawn to something inside a glass cabinet. It contained a white solution. Bua squinted through her glasses and furrowed her brows in curiosity. She saw Ramesh go into another room, which seemed to be used to store documents and basic supplies like gloves and mask, to get something he needed. Bua took the opportunity to observe her surroundings. The lab wasn't much different from her own, but its novelty kept her interested. Bua's mind raced as she connected the dots between the equipment and expertise in Ramesh's lab. The preset ice of large glass cabinets, UV radiation machines, and various chemicals suggested a deep familiarity with ancient preservation techniques. Ramesh returned to the room with a box of gloves and a large bottle of a greenish-brown liquid. His smile was warm, but his quick steps indicated that he was still in the midst of preparations. "Ma'am, make yourself comfortable. I just need a few more minutes," he said, pointing to the chair and continuing to arrange his ingredients. As Bua sat and watched, she noticed that the lab was well equipped for mummification tasks. Large glass cabinets could hold human bodies, and the presence of a UV machine indicated an interest in replicating the conditions required for preservation. Jars of liquids ranging from yellow to yellowish-white indicated experiments with different preservatives. Among the massed striking finds is a chimpanzee skull, carefully prepared and placed on a stand, similar to the arrangement Bua used for human skulls. Its dark color suggests that the skull had been mummified for some time, perhaps as an initial experiment before applying the technique to humans. Bua was very clear about it. This was no ordinary laboratory. The methods and equipment showed a sophisticated knowledge of ancient mummification practices, suggesting that Ramesh, or someone with similar expertise, was deeply involved in the procedure. The presence of sophisticated experimental materials and equipment reinforced the idea that this was insider territory, as they were saying. Her thoughts were interrupted by Ramesh's voice. "Is something wrong, Bua?" "You," Bua said, her voice calm but her heart pounding. "It's you. I don't understand what you mean," said Ramesh, still arranging the ingredients. "Don't deny it," Bua said firmly. "You must know exactly what I'm talking about. Or perhaps, it would be better if the police came to investigate this place." Ramesh's expression changed from curiosity to concern. "What exactly are you talking about?" he asked, his tone now serious. Ramesh's demeanor changed drastically, revealing a dark and disturbing side. The smile on his face was no longer warm, but instead sinister, as if he was proud of his actions. His gaze remained fixed on Bua, and the distance between them grew closer as he moved away from the glass cabinet. "You knew about it, Dr. Bua?" he said, his voice soft but cold. "It's impressive that you knew about it right away. I was hoping the evidence would be destroyed before it reached you." Bua's heart was pounding, but she forced herself to remain calm. She realized that Ramesh's attention was never diverted from her, and he kept scanning the room for anything that could be used as a weapon or an escape aid if necessary. So, the chimpanzee skull was an early experiment, Bua said, trying to keep the conversation going while assessing her options. What was the real purpose behind this experiment? Ramesh's eyes lit up with a mixture of pride and disturbing detachment. The process of preserving bodies over long periods of time has fascinated me for years. Imagine if you could preserve human bodies in a way that would stand the test of time. The technique I've developed could revolutionize the field. You talk about revolutionizing science, but it seems you have crossed every ethical boundary in the process. Bua replied, her voice calm even as she grew increasingly agitated. Science often advances at the expense of something, Ramesh argued. Some sacrifices are necessary for progress. Ultimately, it's about the greater good. Bua shook her head in disbelief. You may see it as progress, but it is a despicable excuse to violate human dignity. You are not the one paying the price, someone else is. Ramesh's expression hardened. It's easy for you to criticize from the outside, but you're not in my shoes. You don't see the potential I see. Bua's mind raced. If Ramesh had gone this far in keeping his work a secret, there was a good chance he wouldn't hesitate to act violently to protect it. Bua needed to stop him and find a way to contact the authorities before things got worse. Well, your grand plan is about to come to an end, Bua said, trying to sound firm. I'll make sure this gets investigated. Ramesh's smile faded, replaced by a grim expression. You think you can just walk out here and reveal everything? It's not that easy. As Ramesh stepped closer, Bua braced herself, her mind alert for any chance of escape or defense. The room was growing increasingly claustrophobic, and she knew she had to act quickly. Those two bastards deserve to die. His usually gentle voice suddenly changed. They both talk too much. Let this end here, Professor. You can't escape, she said. How about we try it with you? He replied. She immediately ran forward. As he was about to approach her, Bua decided to push the equipment cart, causing Ramesh to stumble and collide with the storage cabinet. The cart fell, scattering items and making a loud noise throughout the area. Finya, who was walking towards the laboratory, heard the commotion and immediately rushed in. She had a bad feeling that something must have happened. Ramesh stood up and tried to run towards her again. Seeing this, Busaya grabbed a nearby chemical bottle and threw it to block his way, followed by the equipment scattered on her. A hammer hit him hard in the middle of his back, making him stumble for a moment. This made Ramesh turn around, his face red with anger. The young man charged forward. As he raised his hand to swing his punch at Busaya's face, Ramesh felt himself lurch forward. Towards the shocked woman, Finya's right foot had hit his back with full force. Don't even think about hurting her, you piece of trash. The loud sound came as she charged towards Ramesh, grabbed the young professor by the collar and punched him hard on the left side of his face, making his own arm throb from the impact. As he moved again, Finya charged at him, and the two of them fell to the floor. Ramesh struggled to free himself, using his legs to push the young assistant's body, causing him to stumble backwards. The young man tried to regain his footing and used his hands to support himself, though he was still dazed from the previous blow. However, he was met with another blow from Finya on his right cheek, causing him to stagger towards the wall. He braced himself, knowing he would not be let off so easily. Give up. You won't be able to escape, she said, but Ramesh's hand hit Finya's face, making it bleed. You still won't listen, Finya said, attacking him again until they both fell to the floor. Finya took the opportunity to climb on top of the doctor and continued to hit him until his hands were numb. He felt Ramesh use his foot to kick his right side before he fell to the floor. He was now at a disadvantage as Ramesh landed a punch to her face from above. The two wrestled for a while. Finya's vision started to blur before she felt Ramesh's body being kicked by someone she assumed was Bua, followed by the owner of the foot running towards her later. Security personnel, called by those who heard the commotion, quickly entered and detained Ramesh. "Finya, are you okay?" Bua asked as she tried to help her up. She saw blood flowing from the corner of Finya's mouth. Ramesh was taken away by security. "Dizzy," she answered hoarsely from the pain, and the person beside her quickly helped her. "Can you stand? Let me sit down for a moment." She then sat down against the wall and roughly wiped the blood from her lips with her sleeve. The police arrived half an hour later with forensic officers. Ramesh was immediately taken to the police station for questioning, while Bua and Finya remained there waiting for the ambulance to treat their wounds. The forensic team collected all the evidence. One thing that was surprising was the glass cabinet full of salt. If they had been a little slower, someone else might have been victimized and placed in that salt cabinet. "How are you today, Finya?" Bua asked as she entered the room the following evening, which was the day she had urged Finya to take sick leave to recover from her injuries. "Let me see your wounds." Bua sat down next to her and motioned for Finya to show her wounds without hesitation. "How do you feel?" "It hurts," Finya answered shortly, wincing in pain. Bua looked at her worriedly. The corner of Finya's mouth was swollen and red, and her left cheek showed the same symptoms. "Have you eaten anything today?" "Just a little." "It hurts. I can't eat anything. I won't be able to use my mouth for a few days." "But you're still trying to talk," Bua said, before getting up and going into another room, returning with a bottle of water, warm water, and first aid supplies. "How was the meeting with the police? What did they say?" Finya asked as she sat back down on the couch. "Deliberate murder and concealment of corpses." "Is it true?" "Yes," Bua confirmed. "It has nothing to do with the sale of antiques. It's actually a little bit related, but not the main issue." She then began to explain that the police had told her a few hours earlier that Ramesh had confessed. "The body you found in Mr. Fanyawat's warehouse was Ramesh's ex-girlfriend who had broken up with him. Now, the forensic team is examining Ramesh's laboratory. It is suspected that it is the crime scene or the place where the body was hidden. All the necessary equipment is there." "Oh, this is interesting. What happens next?" "His ex-girlfriend wanted his money back and threatened to expose him." "Reveal it?" "Something like his involvement in violence and his obsession with mummification, and he demanded hush money," Bua said. Apparently they couldn't reach an agreement and had a fight, which led to Ramesh killing him by strangling him. He then asked his close friend, Mr. Wizard, to help him hide the body by embalming it and then asking Mr. Wizard to take it to Mr. Fanyawat to sell it as a replica. If they were caught, Mr. Wizard would be the one to blame. "Wow, people really have very clever plans," Finya commented before groaning in pain. "Killing and hiding them, then dumping the bodies and selling them. I wouldn't call it clever. It's evil," Bua said, prompting the listener to nod and chuckle. "Ramesh is not normal." "Why do you think so?" "When he confessed to me in the lab, I didn't see any remorse from him. He seemed obsessed with the whole thing," Bua explained. "He said that scientific progress requires sacrifice." "Nonsense," another female doctor interjected. "But he actually did it. There are people like this in our flayed, it's temple," Bua added. "And why did Wizard suffer the same ending?" asked Finya. "He tried to escape," Busaya replied calmly. "He was afraid that one day he would be caught because he was the one who handled everything directly. So that's why he asked to be transferred to Africa." The assistant director chimed in, remembering the acceptance letter she had found in the room. "Exactly. He planned to flee abroad, but Ramesh silenced him because who knows, one day he might come back to expose everything." Finya took a deep breath. "So, how did Wizard die?" "A hammer blow to the lower jaw, one blow to the chin, he died instantly. After that, his body was mutilated," Busaya answered. "Of course. The person who asked the question replied. The crack ran from the center, like someone had hit it, deforming the lower jaw. The police are looking for the weapon and questioning where the rest of his body is. I think he's doing it slowly, piece by piece. The foreign doctor commented. It wouldn't be easy to do it alone. Then Wizerat's skull was found with Mr. Pichai, Bua added. But no one knows how it got there because Mr. Pichai was no longer around to testify. They must have known each other. The assistant director said. Pichai probably got it from Ramesh without knowing anything, because he doesn't know these things. Just look at Fanyawat, he thought it was a replica. Bua nodded before continuing. That seems likely, because police said Mr. Pipat testified that his brother was going to show the skull to an Egyptologist to determine its era, perhaps planning to auction it off along with the scroll. Classic entrepreneur. The assistant director chuckled. Tomorrow, I will go to Ramesh's house. I think we might find the remains of Wizerat. Busaya added. The initial police search found the remains of animals like dogs and cats buried there. They will start digging tomorrow, and I will be there to help. Maybe it's the violent behavior that's going to come out, Finya suggested. Before he did it to people, he probably started with animals or something. That's probably what happened. Another agreed. I saw his preserved chimpanzee skull in the lab, so I knew right away he did it. Any updates on the cause of the plane crash? After examining the black box, the aviation department suspects that there was a fight on board the plane, and that a weapon was involved. Busaya explained. However, we do not know exactly what caused the fight. There was a bullet hole on the side of the plane, and the pilot was shot, which we have confirmed. However, since the weapon was not found, we cannot determine what type of weapon it was. The company owner has been ordered to close down and compensate the victim's family, and they are prohibited from doing any aviation-related business in the future. Is there anything else we should do about the plane crash? We still have to return the bodies of the 3 victims to the police, Bua replied. Finally, it's all over. Finya sighed, before slowly closing her eyes. From the plane crash to the hidden murder. If the plane hadn't crashed, Ramesh might have gotten away with it, and the skull would have left the country. No skull, no identity, and Pichai would be in trouble. Maybe it's because of the mummy's curse I mentioned earlier, Busaya joked. Do you want to take a shower or just clean yourself up? Can you check this area? It hurts. The speaker said, holding out her face, especially her swollen, red lips. To Bua, she gently touched the area next to the wound with her fingertips. Does it hurt a lot? It might hurt more tomorrow. The owner of the room commented before moving her lips to the injured area. Get well soon. Do it on the other side too. Came the pleading voice. Please. Given a little, but ask for a lot, she said, though she did not refuse. Are you hungry? No. I can't eat. Just do whatever you need to do. Finya said, wincing in pain. And if I stay here, do you mind? The question made the listener open her eyes, then she tried to smile, even though it was quite difficult. You probably already know the answer. Fin. Thank you. You helped me again when Professor Ramesh was about to hit me. Stop thanking me, you sleepyhead. She said, patting the woman's hair. Make me some porridge. Okay. The woman agreed. As Bua stood up, she bent down and gently combed the black hair of the man sitting there, kissed her forehead, and said, Eat a lot, take your medicine on time, be a good girl, and when you are better, I will give you everything you want. Really, Bua? Finya's eyes sparkled like a child's, but Bua didn't answer. She just stared at the injured person's reddened face, unsure whether it was because of the wound or something else, then walked away. You promised, you know. Yes. I will get well soon. Fin, have you received the police case summary email about the plane crash? I sent it about 10 minutes ago. Bua asked as Finya walked down the 5th floor corridor towards her office. I saw it, she said, holding up her phone to show that she had received it. But I haven't opened it yet. I was talking to the students about their final exams. Another graduate? Yes. The female assistant director confirmed. Another one will graduate next month. Finya then asked, what did the police say? After asking, she led the way to her office, followed by Bua. Epilogue. Currently Dr. Busaya is standing on the balcony of her condominium on the 15th floor. Her arms rested on the balcony railing as she gazed into the distance through her square-rimmed glasses. The city life below was bustling, with several people just starting their night out. She heard the bedroom door open but didn't turn to look, knowing who it was. Finya, who had just taken a shower, came out and was now standing beside her, leaning on the balcony as well. Tonight was the time she promised to clear things up between herself and Finya. Are you sleepy, Bua? Despite hearing the question, Bua did not answer immediately. Her eyes remained fixed on the scenery outside, lost in thought. Memories flooded her mind, especially those involving Finya. At this moment, Bua was not sure how she should feel. She knew her feelings for Finya had long gone beyond mere friendship. It wasn't just about being bed partners, physical attraction, or whatever other reasons Bua usually said. It was far beyond liking. She might have fallen in love with Finya from the start, letting things progress to this point. The thought of Finya one day saying she didn't want her anymore, or asking her to forget everything that had happened, made Bua unsure about what she would do next. But who else could she blame but herself? Bua had to take responsibility for her own feelings. She clearly remembered the first intimate night she had with Finya when Finya asked her if she wanted to stop. It was Bua who let Finya have her way, and she then fell deeper than she wanted. It's still early, but if I lie down, I'll fall asleep. I believe that. Finya chuckled before turning to face her. You're one of the best sleepers I know. Because I'm not good at anything else, Bua said with a wry smile. Is that right? Who says it? Finya approached and gently stroked Bua's face with her right hand. Don't you know how proud I am of you? You just want to keep close, so you say that, Bua replied. But I will choose to trust you. I will make you believe it. Just wait and see, Bua. Fin. I'm serious about you, Finya interrupted. This isn't just about being possessive, as you think. She then looked into Bua's eyes, which were starting to fill with tears. But first, you have to listen to me. Bua only responded with a hesitant nod, unsure of what Finya wanted to say. She saw Finya take a deep breath and offer a warm smile that touched her heart. Finya then started to speak. I've said it before, but I'll say it again, I'm sorry, Bua. For everything, for all the times I hurt you on purpose. Finya lifted her fingers to brush the hair out of Bua's face, who looked like she was about to cry. I'm sorry for not seeing you, Bua, earlier. I'm sorry for wasting your time unnecessarily. I'm sorry for always picking on you or throwing rocks at you instead of giving you flowers. I'm sorry for not explaining our relationship sooner. It may have seemed like I was taking advantage of you. I was the one who took advantage of you, Bua replied. You tried to talk about this a few times, but I avoided it because I was suspicious of you. She said, tears streaming down her cheeks, and Finya, with compassion, reached out to wipe them away. You can trust me, Bua. Finya said with a warm smile that Bua rarely saw. Trust me that I will not hurt you again. She then placed Bua's right hand on her own left chest. Trust me here. Fin. From now on, if you want to hit me with a shovel, I will stand still and take it. Finya said, making Bua laugh through her tears and sobs. I will let you hit me until you are satisfied. Can I really do that? If you get hurt, do you think I won't get hurt too? Bua said. I might have fallen in love with you long before I realized it. If I make you doubt me, you have to tell me, okay? Don't just assume. After that night, you never made me feel unsure again, Finya, Bua said with a smile. So now you know why I came back? Finya asked, staring intently into Bua's dark eyes. Because of me, is it really because of me? No one is more sensible and worthy than you, Bua, Finya said clearly, wanting Bua to feel confident. Do you know that I was defeated by you a long time ago? It's hard to believe, but when I turned down the position in England, I didn't hesitate at all. Finya said. And do you think I would go anywhere else? Even though I went far away, I chose to come back. Thank you, Fin. Remember that I belong here, by Bua, the assistant said. And I'm not leaving so easily. This time, Busaya nodded in agreement. So, you can trust me that I'm not a possessive child who only wants to be around you. The teasing comment made Busaya laugh softly. But a possessive adult, Finya continued. So, are you okay with my possessiveness now? I can't go anywhere without you, Finya, Bua said, before smiling faintly. You're probably the only one who can tolerate my laziness. The others complain after a few days without a reply. But you never ignore my messages. Just in case you didn't notice. Sometimes it's just a matter of priorities, another person explained. The only person I reply right away is our professor because I get yelled at if I don't. She laughed after saying this. Bua felt the other person's fingertips touch her chin. Does the professor dare to scold you? You are her favorite. Don't say that. You were never asked for a progress report, so you don't know. The lab chief explained. I was even chased for reports in my dreams. Is that so? Finya said before her lips slowly moved to Bua's, biting her bottom lip playfully. This made Bua move closer to her. Finya. Bua instinctively wrapped her arms around Finya's neck before she tightened her face to receive the lips of the person in front of her. Tonight, I won't let you sleep. And Finya kept her promise. It was the first night for both of them. Even though it wasn't their first night together physically, it was the first night where they both accepted each other in their relationship. Especially for Bua. She wasn't sure when her suspicions about Finya disappeared. Maybe it never existed in the first place. Otherwise, how could she dare to let this woman freely enter and exit her bedroom? Besides, Finya also had spare key cards for all the rooms and cars, which Bua had previously given her. Perhaps the suspicion was just a lack of confidence in whether someone like Finya would be serious about her, which was beyond Bua's expectations. I trust you, Finya. Apart from love, Bua can't give anything in return other than her trust in Finya. I trust you. The end. Thank you for spending your time with us. New videos every day at 9 p.m. Don't forget to like and subscribe for the newest videos. See ya.